Have you ever wondered how a hero can become a villain without ever committing a crime? How someone who helped lift a championship trophy ended up becoming a burden? Jordan Poole was the future, but inside the Warriors locker room, he was just an outsider. 2022, the Warriors climbed back to the top of the NBA, a title that once seemed unlikely. With Klay Thompson's physical decline, doubts about Draymond Green, and the ever-growing weight on Stephen Curry's shoulders. But in the middle of that storm, one name stood out. A 22-year-old with the confidence of a veteran and the talent of a star, Jordan Poole. Throughout that historic campaign, Poole was essential. He came off the bench and changed the rhythm of games. He averaged 17 points, nearly 4 assists, and shot over 50% from the field. He was a lightning bolt in the middle of a storm, a new splash brother who looked ready for the throne, standing beside the gods of San Francisco. But like any empire, what looked like a blessing became a threat. On October 5th, during a simple practice, an invisible line was crossed. Draymond Green, veteran, emotional leader, and sometimes uncontrollable, lost his temper. A punch, thrown straight at Jordan Poole. The footage leaked. The world saw it. But what no one could yet see was that the blow wasn't just physical. It was symbolic, the beginning of an internal collapse. That fight marked something deeper. Poole was no longer seen as just a fun, promising kid. He had become a discomforting figure, a reminder that the new generation was ready and hungry. And not everyone liked that. If you're enjoying this story and want to follow everything that happens still playing at a high level, NBA represents a hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just talk about stats. We talk about real stories. About tension, vanity, pride, and how ego can bring down even the most talented. After the incident, Poole had a strange year. Not exactly bad, but not exactly good either. A season full of ups and downs, where smiles gave way to tense expressions on the bench. But everything truly fell apart in the playoffs. With averages of just 10.3 points per game and 34.1% shooting from the field, Poole vanished when it mattered most. His confidence evaporated. The one sure touch turned into hesitation. And the Warriors, they don't forgive mistakes in April. The most repeated explanation was simple. Draymond's punch destroyed the chemistry. But according to Tim Kawakami, columnist of the San Francisco Standard, there were more layers to this drama. In an appearance on the Tom Tolbert Show, Kawakami revealed a less visible, but perhaps even more decisive tension. Klay Thompson. There was no fight, no harsh words, but something was in the air. Poole acted like a player who wanted more. He wanted to start. He wanted space. And Klay noticed, felt it, and didn't like it. According to Kawakami, Thompson believed the starting spot was his by right because of his history, because of everything he had sacrificed. And seeing Poole, even without saying anything publicly, acting like someone who wanted that spot, created growing discomfort. It was a silent tension, but it was real. They had to get rid of Jordan for two reasons. Draymond and Klay, said Kawakami bluntly. A sentence that sounds like a verdict. What's more tragic? Even after Poole's departure, Klay also fell. The 2023-24 season was rough. And in the decisive moments, Klay was no longer a starter. The spot he fought so hard to protect was gone. And by the end of the season, his journey with the Warriors came to an end. In the offseason, he left for the Dallas Mavericks, another symbol of the dynasty, walking away in silence. As for Jordan Poole, he was sent to the Washington Wizards in July 2023, a trade that at the time seemed purely technical. But now, with Kawakami's words, it all makes more sense. The decision wasn't just about basketball. It was political, cultural, internal. Poole was the guy who got punched, but couldn't stay because his presence bothered people. Because, to the veterans, he didn't understand his place, even without saying a word. Maybe just in the way he carried himself, Kawakami said. And that was enough. This story forces us to reflect. In great teams, is there room for new? Or is there an invisible pact that protects the pillars, even if they're already starting to crack? Comment below. Do you think Poole was treated unfairly? Or were the Warriors right to prioritize internal chemistry and protect their historic leaders? And more, what happens to the dynasty now that Klay is gone too? But the end of the Klay Thompson era in Golden State was not the final chapter. It was a sharp cut between two acts. Because while Klay walked out the front door, quietly wounded but with his head held high, the franchise found itself facing the mirror for the first time in a decade. And the reflection was uncomfortable. There was no more euphoria, no more certainties. Jordan Poole had already been the first piece sacrificed, a symbol of the new Splash Brother project that imploded after a punch, both literal and symbolic, from Draymond Green. The broken relationship, the decline in performance, and conflicts with veterans like Klay sealed his fate. He was gone, but the problem remained. Because now, more than ever, the Golden State Warriors need to decide, rebuild or race against time. And everything indicates that management chose the second option. Curry is now entering his 17th season. 3 rings, 2 MVPs, a revolution in the game. But time does not forgive even basketball gods. And if Golden State wants to give him one more real shot at a title, the move has to happen now, not at the next draft, not in 3 years. Now, and this is where Moses Moody comes in. Promising, young, smart. He has already shown flashes of being a solid defender, a reliable shooter. But maybe he is about to be the next piece to fall. According to increasingly strong rumors, the Warriors are considering trading Moody to the Mavericks for PJ Washington, a 2.01-meter forward who fits exactly what Steve Kerr is looking for. Defensive versatility, offensive spacing, and still playing at a high level. PJ had a solid season in Dallas. 14.7 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 38.1% on three-pointers. He is not a star. But he is exactly the kind of player a team in when now Mode needs to complete its rotation. The fit seems perfect, but the implications go far beyond the court. Golden State still carries the ghost of the Two Paths project. The idea was simple, in theory, develop a new generation while still competing for titles. But in practice, it was a minefield. Poole, Wiseman, Baldwin Jr., Rollins, almost all gone. What remains are Kuminga, Podziemski, and Moody, the latter now at the center of another delicate decision. The proposal in question, reported by Evan Sidery and echoed by Dean Simon, involves Moody and future second-round picks in exchange for Washington, a player with a $46 million contract who will become eligible for an extension in August. Why does this matter? Because if Golden State wants PJ, they have to act before the market heats up too much. The imminent arrival of Cooper Flagg in Dallas, according to Sporting News, may make Washington available, a rare window that could close very quickly, but that doesn't erase the risk. Moody is still a young asset, and there are insiders who believe he could become an elite player in a few years, especially on a team with more minutes and less pressure. So the dilemma persists. Trade potential for reliability, sacrifice tomorrow to try to save today. And it's not just about basketball. It's also about identity. The Warriors were the team that proved you could win with culture, patience, and loyalty. They value the connection between roster, fans, and purpose. But what do you do when culture starts to become a burden? When loyalty costs wins? This is what management, now without Bob Myers, has to decide. Because every move has a cost. Poole was traded, and the team didn't return to the finals. Klay left, and the Splash Brothers are now just one. And Moody could be the next to leave without having had the chance to show everything he could. On the other hand, PJ Washington represents solidity. He defends multiple positions. He hits threes. He doesn't demand starring roles. And above all, he has playoff experience. He understands what's at stake. And with Curry increasingly close to the finish line, maybe that's all that matters. But what if it's not enough? What if PJ comes and the Warriors still struggle in the West? What if Moody shines in Dallas alongside Thompson? How will fans see yet another sacrifice? That's the question hanging over Chase Center. And it goes beyond statistics. Because now, the big question is no longer who's coming or who's leaving. It's, who does Golden State want to be? A team that lives in the past? A team that bets everything on one last chapter? Or an organization capable of reinventing itself without destroying what it built? You decide. Comment below. Would you trade Moses Moody for PJ Washington? And get ready. In the next video, we'll dive into the impact of Bob Myers' departure, the architect of the dynasty, and how his absence is being felt exactly at moments when decisions like this are on the table. Subscribe, leave a like, and come with us. Because the Warriors might be about to change everything you thought you knew about them. And this is just the beginning.